What's up, everybody? Rob here. So, who lost Special Order 191? What is Special Order 191? What am I even talking about? What's going on here? Not wasting any more time, let's get right down to it. So, it's mid-1862 and the American Civil War is in full swing. The Confederacy was winning victory after victory against the Union, and with momentum fully in their favor, Confederate General Robert E. Lee plans an invasion of Maryland with the hopes that a victory on Union soil will be enough to end the war. The war was very unpopular in the North, and it was believed that a decisive victory on Northern soil would be enough to push them over the edge. You got a Confederate victory. So, the Union Army under General George McClellan was in need of a miracle, and they would get an absolute miracle. So, in planning for the invasion of Maryland, Lee gave out orders to his highest level officers about how they were to march during the campaign. Armies at this time would march divided and fight concentrated. Basically, you can't have tens of thousands of men using a single roadway. They'd get in each other's way. They'd be strung out over many miles. You basically have to move in different segments across a wider area, and then they would have orders to concentrate on a single point. So you would be given instructions, as each of these segments would be given instructions to move along a certain path, certain timetables for when you need to be at a certain place. But basically, you had literal marching orders for different segments of the army. And these were written out in what became known as Special Order 191, which was issued on September 9th, 1862. Now, there were 7 copies of the order that were written out by Lee's Assistant Adjutant General, Robert Hall Chilton. Now, one of these would be sent to Thomas Stonewall Jackson. The second copy would be sent to General James Longstreet. The third would be sent to Brigadier General John G. Walker. The fourth copy would be sent to Major General Lafayette McLaws. The fifth copy would be given to Confederate Cavalry Commander Major General Jeb Stuart. The sixth would be given to Walter Taylor, who was Lee's Chief of Staff. And a seventh copy would be sent on to Confederate President Jefferson Davis. So basically, we have 7 copies of Order 191 detailing the Confederate battle plans for the invasion of Maryland. Okay, this is where the confusion starts. So there was another officer involved in all this. His name is Major General Daniel Harvey Hill. At this point in the campaign, he was a division commander under Thomas Stonewall Jackson, and he did not initially receive a copy of Order 191. However, he was to exercise an independent command using his division as a rear guard for the army. Because he was under Jackson's direct command at this point, Jackson was his corps commander, Jackson passed on Order 191 to him. So there you go, all well and good, we still have everything accounted for. Easy enough, simple. However, since he was to exercise an independent command, Chilton took it upon himself to write out an extra copy of the order and sent another copy of Order 191 to Hill directly. Keep this in mind. So now we have an 8th copy still floating around out there. Okay, so you fast forward a little bit, and with these orders in place, the Army of Northern Virginia moves out and begins their invasion of Maryland. 4 days later, on September 13th, the Union Army of the Potomac arrives in the region, and they set up camp in the same area the Confederates had just vacated. While lounging in a field after a difficult march, members of F Company of the 27th Indiana Volunteer Infantry Regiment were basically just chilling out in the field when some of the soldiers stumbled upon 3 cigars that were wrapped in a piece of paper just lying there in the middle of the field. Now, they were confused, but no doubt excited by this find, when they quickly realized that this paper had writing on it, and it seemed important, so they passed it on to their regimental commander, and their regimental commander passed it on to their brigade commander, who passed it on to the division commander, who passed it on to the corps commander, and a few hours later, Special Order 191, detailing the entire movement of the Confederate Army of Northern Virginia, was sitting there in the hands of General George McClellan. Now, McClellan was a very cautious individual, and he thought this might have been a trick. I mean, you literally stumble upon the enemy's entire battle plans just laying there in the field. Okay, there's got to be a trick of some kind. But in another twist of fate, part of this chain of command that Special Order 191 was passed through included that of the 12th Corps commander. The 12th Corps' commander had an adjutant on his staff whose name was Samuel E. Pittman. Now, before the war, Pittman was a teller at a bank in Detroit, Michigan. And guess who was the commander, or guess who was the paymaster of the Army garrison that was stationed at Detroit, Michigan? That would be Robert Chilton. Pittman knew what Chilton's signature looks like. The two men knew each other. He knew what Pittman knew what Chilton's signature looks like. Guess whose signature was on the bottom of the order? That would be Chilton's. Pittman was able to then verify that, yes, this is actually legit. So with this information in mind, McClellan was then able to accurately predict Lee's movements, which led to the very bloody but extremely decisive victory at the Battle of Antietam. This eventually gave Abraham Lincoln enough confidence to issue the Emancipation Proclamation, and was one of the major events of the war. I wouldn't say it was a turning point necessarily, but definitely momentum started to shift back in Union favor. It fell out again, but that's the Civil War is complex. Anyway, eventually led to the Union victory at Antietam. So the question that I'm bringing up here is, who lost Special Order 191? Who lost this extra copy? Now, there are three possibilities here. One would be General Hill himself, who, given the circumstances described above, he would have had to have received two copies. One that he was given from Jackson that was passed on to him, and one that was given to him directly by Chilton. Now, to his dying day, though, however, Hill denied receiving the second copy, only the one he received from Jackson, which he kept pinned in his coat pocket. He said he only received that copy and not the one from Chilton. That never happened, that he, in his life, he swore that he never would, but that he never received it. And also, just on a final reason against him being the guy who lost it, even though he's the most obvious choice, was that he was not a cigar smoker. So they were wrapped in cigars. He was not a cigar smoker. It probably wasn't him. It's the most obvious would be General Hill, but it was not him. Now, the second would be a member on Hill's staff who misplaced it. Now, this is more likely, but also somewhat improbable. Now, marching orders for the entire army would have been treated with incredible caution and would have been securely documented. Any envelope containing the orders of this type would have been signed and stamped by the staff, and it would have been recorded that it was received. Every member of Hill's staff denied receiving a second copy, and there is no documentation at all that this was the case either. Basically, it would have been, if they received a second copy, it would have been documented that they had received a second copy. There is no evidence to suggest that this occurred. There is no signature that, in any case, that they received it. There's no stamp that indicates that they received it. There's just no indication that this second copy made its way to Hill's staff. So General Hill did not receive the order, or did not lose the order, and a member on Hill's staff did not receive the order, so they couldn't have lost it either. So that leaves, in all likelihood, one final possibility. And that would be the courier who delivered the message to General Hill. But who is this person, and what were the circumstances or the potential circumstances that caused this to happen? Now, the short answer is we have no idea. Yeah, sorry, we have absolutely no idea who the courier was and what the circumstances were, but we can make some educated guesses. This is Lieutenant Henry Kyd Douglas. He was part of the staff of General Thomas Stonewall Jackson, and he often acted as a courier for the staff members. Since he was part of Jackson's staff, he would know the exact location of General Hill, who was under Jackson's command at the time, and so he would be able to get to him rather quickly and efficiently. And it is even possible and probable that Chilton gave the extra copy to Douglas to pass on to General Hill, knowing he would know exactly where he was, so, okay, go deliver the message to him. Now, this is where the speculation comes in. It is possible that he tried to deliver the copy of the letter to Hill or someone on his staff, but was dismissed because Hill had already received the orders and the extra copy was not needed. If this was the case, there would be no signature or stamp acknowledging the receipt of the extra copy because they never received the extra copy. There would be no documentation of its whereabouts since there was no reason for them to do so. And there would be a plausible reason for Douglas to simply leave and, just leave the area without giving any further thought to the matter. Now, somewhere along the way, the letter would have fallen out of his pocket or bag or however he was carrying it without him noticing. And since he was a member of Jackson's staff, not Chilton's, he would have simply returned to Jackson's camp and not reported back to Chilton. So that's the closest thing we can say. Yeah, it's a bit confusing, but there you go. Also, one other thing too, it is also known that Douglas was an avid cigar smoker, which just adds to the evidence stacked up against him. Now, this is just one possible scenario. Obviously, nobody knows how the missing order ended up in that field until the battle was over. And more to the point, though, nobody actually knew that the order was missing until the battle was actually over. Since if they knew that there was a missing order, a copy of the entire battle plan of the army was missing, this would have prompted an immediate search for obvious security reasons, which never happened. Basically, it was lost, and everybody was oblivious to this until after the battle. So, just an interesting little theory. I thought it was, something interesting. One of those mysteries of the Civil War that I couldn't say it's answered, but it's definitely something worth discussing. I just thought it was something a bit interesting. Anyway, that's it for this video. Please hit the like and subscribe button. More videos coming out whenever I get around to it. Have a good day. Or don't have a good day. You're adults. Have any kind of day you want. See you later.